All right, guys. Hey, Paul McClainer, welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. And I probably look a little bright. I was already laughing. Me and Michael Sandman were kind of cutting up a little bit beforehand. And this is going to be a great podcast. I suggest that you lean in and get ready to just, really kind of be empowered, equipped, and know what to do and how to do it at a higher level. My goal every single week, guys, as I get on here, is to really best serve you. And I'm excited to start my Monday with you. And I sit back and I think, who can we have on here? And the benefit is this: we just came off of one of the most unbelievable events I've been a part of in the last 14 years of my career at the Family First Life annual convention in Miami. It was first class. The speakers, the way they served, the way they gave, the belief level that as I talk to agents where they're just like, man, I believe I can do this. And now I know how to do this and that. This is where I got to tweak. This is where I got to adjust. And that's what it's about, man. It's to go into heightened awareness, to leave better than you were when you got there, to believe bigger than you were when you got there, and go out there and make new choices, new decisions, develop new disciplines, and take it to the next level. Man, it was so good. I sat back after this conference, Michael, and I thought, man, like who could I have on coming right out of this event that can really just, provide some great value to everybody on the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. And dude, I'm not kidding. I don't know if it's because you got, like you told me this at conference, that fluffy hair that you got, but you popped into my head, man. That fluffy head of yours popped in. And I was like, man, we got to get Sandman on, bro. So, hey, thank you for joining and welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I've literally, since I started almost a little over a year ago, I've watched this podcast nearly every time it came on. So, dude, it's a complete honor to be on here, and I'm super excited.
Hey, man, it's my honor to have you on, and I know you'll serve the team well this morning. Michael, first of all, dude, how long have you been with Family First Life?
Yeah, so I started with Family First Life the end of 2020. I was 18 years old, so I was like, you know what? I was making about $300 a week, so I was like, you know what? Why not go into commission only sales? And I've been with Family First ever since, like I said, the end of 2020. And I started full time. I think November was my first full time month of 2020. And man, it's just been a crazy journey ever since.
That's awesome. Well, I want to kind of get into some of that journey. And the one thing that I connected really well with you, right when we kind of met at the conference, you were on the panel, the rookie producer panel. And like Michael, what's your age again? Was it 19 or 20?
I started when I was 18 and 19 this is crazy. I was 18 when I started. I was 19 at the conference and I turned 20 like 2 days ago. So,
hey, happy birthday, bro.
I appreciate it.
So think about, so I started when I was 19 too. And I think it's so easy for somebody as they kind of get moving in the business to compare their current present situation with somebody's highlight reel, like with the results and what they're doing today. And it looks great. Like Michael, when you talk about the amount of families that you helped in a month, man, it's impressive. Like how many families did you help in a month? Like the most in one given month? What was that?
It was in September of this past year and it was 104.
I mean, that's crazy, man. Like how many families did you help for 2021?
In 2021, altogether I'm actually looking at it, which is crazy, 669 for the year.
That's unbelievable, man. Did you think that you were going to be able to serve that many families when you first started, like that first month, and how you were doing?
No, I definitely didn't. What changed everything for me is, which I know you highlighted in the very beginning, was the convention of last year. I never helped more than like 20 families in a month. I went to conference last year and I never helped less than 30. And it wasn't because, I'm talented, good, none of that. It was just because all of the information that was poured into all of us was so very helpful. And I guess it was super, I don't know, it motivated me to just get out there every single week and, just get in front of 30 people every single week to make sure that not only was I help serving and protecting families, but also, creating financial freedom for myself. But I mean, when I initially started, it was insane. I was definitely probably one of the worst agents that's ever came to Family First. But for myself, there was just no way out and there was no plan B for myself. So, I think. And
what was your story before? So, when you got going with FFL, what was your, situation? What did it look like? Where were you at? Where did you live? What transpired? What kind of led you here? Like, where were you at financially when you kind of got going with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when I initially started, so just to kind of back up, when I turned 18, I told myself the second I turned 18, I lived in Louisiana all my life from the time I was like 4 years old. And I told myself, look, when I turn 18, I'm out of here. I mean, I'm not going to say anything negative about the place. It was just, I wanted out. So I turned 18 in February of last year. March of last year, I was out. I was gone. I had less than $1,000 to my name. I said, I'm out of here. And the thing is March of 2020 was when COVID hit. So everybody was losing their jobs. So it was hard enough for us to find a job. And when we came down here, our living condition was terrible. We had no proof of income because we couldn't find a job. I remember my dad, we had an old work van with like 300,000 miles on it. And my dad was like, you know what, guys, just take it. Whatever, you guys can have it. I don't want it. So we hooked on a U-Haul to the back with the last little bit of money we had, came down to Florida. And we slept out of that thing for a long time. And then finally, we end up finding jobs, and then we end up getting on our feet. And what was crazy is one of my friends growing up, one of my childhood friends, he called me one day and he's like, dude, he knew that he knew what the situation was looking like for me at the time. He's like, dude, I made $500 on Tuesday. I was like, I said, what are you doing? He's like, dude, I'm selling life insurance. I was like, selling life insurance. I was like, dude, that's might be, dude, that's kind of sketch. He's like, no, he's like, that's what I'm doing. I was like, okay, well, so what I done is I actually reached out to a bunch of different IMOs, so many different companies, probably 10, 15 companies. And, Family First Life I felt like the best fit for myself. I called up one of our managers here in Tampa, and he's like, dude, why don't you meet me in my office? I met him at the office, and a week later, I passed my test. It was just, I don't know. And once I got my test, my first couple of months, man, it was rough. It really was, because I was just not committed. I wasn't disciplined, none of that. And once I end up going all in, it's completely changed my life. But initially I started with, I still have the screenshot, which is crazy. And I know I said this at convention. I had $3.52 in my account. And Eric gave me like 60-year-old leads, which, I mean, if it has a name and a number, and I think I sold like 4 or 5 policies off of them, and it allowed me to reinvest into more leads. And then from there, it was just, I slowly gained momentum to where I currently am.
I love that, dude. I mean, what a great story. And it resonated well with me, Michael, because I got started at 19. Funny thing is, man, now I'm 34, right? And it's like, I've been doing this for almost as long as I've not been doing this, right? And I remember being 19, getting on the scene and, getting things moving and really just hoping that this would work. I mean, dude, because my situation a little different. Yours, though, I mean, dude, you were living out of like a truck, basically, right? You didn't have a place to live and you're sleeping in a truck and, just trying to hope that your situation and your life was going to be moving in the right direction, that financially you're going to be better off next month than you were this month, hope to God, right? And I remember finding this business, and we had just had our first daughter. She was like 2 weeks old, and I was like praying to God, like, man, there's got to be something out there, because I was living in my mom's 2-bedroom apartment, and I got the couch, which she always says that she loves me and my brother the same. But I was, in hindsight, it's like, he had a bedroom, I had the couch, like you chose. But just hoping that I could provide for my family that I had, and not knowing and not sure, and kind of being scared of like, will it work or will it won't work? And I remember getting introduced to this business, kind of like you, Michael, and just thinking like, it sounds good, like helping families. The money the upside you can make sounds like pretty promising. Like, if I put in more work, I should be able to do a little better, but just not sure. And I remember getting those first batch of leads and being so bad that like the hope almost kind of left me. And man, but then I sat back, and for me, I looked at it like, if I was going to put 4 years into college to go get a degree, which was my game plan, working a job and then going to college and just barely surviving because my job didn't, pay enough, and I didn't have enough hours with my school to do enough, that I'd eventually get a degree and get a good job, and I'd be the first one in my family to do it. And that was a ticket. And this was just something that I could do on the side and replace my job and make probably hopefully better money and better lifestyle. And not knowing what it would turn into, right? Like, I didn't get what life insurance was or wasn't. And I remember going through those trials, but Michael, what I held on to was, if I was going to commit 4 years to college and then get out with a degree and probably not make much money with the degree. Like none of my friends were killing it, right? A lot of them were back at their mom's house with a degree and student loan debt. I was like, man, let me just get 4 years. And even if I suck for 4 years and I could survive like I was surviving with, pumping septic tanks, maybe on the other end of it, I'll be better off for it, and that was kind of my game plan. So when I had a bad week, the bad week was just such a small, like rung on the whole length of the ladder. Like it was such a small piece of my overall, what I was willing to pay the price and work towards. And I'd convinced myself that I can't suck that long. Does that make sense? So, Michael, what was kind of the tipping point from when you said, man, I was so bad. Did you ever, did you get really good, or how did you handle being so bad, but still serving enough families to make a good income? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's so crazy. You say that before this, you were pumping septic tanks. Before this, I was actually, for about 6 weeks when I was here in Florida, I actually started working for a plumbing company, it was crazy. But when for myself, like I said, when I started, I was not good at all. And to this day, I'm not that. If you saw my in-home or me on the phone, it's nothing special. It's just what clicked for me was me being dedicated to dial time. And I know that's something that is talked about every training, every time you go into any type of FFL pot, every single thing, you watch, people are just talking about being committed to dial time. And that was something that took me a long time to grasp, to get a hold of, and to commit to, simply because I didn't like sitting at my desk for 12 hours at a time. But, like they say, I know I said this at the conference, nothing great comes without sacrifice. So it was December of last year. I remember the first week of December, I told myself, you know what, I'm going to start at 8 a.m. And if it's 9:30 that night and I only have 12 appointments, at least I can say that I put in 13 hours worth of dialing. So that's what I done. It didn't matter if it was old leads, new leads, didn't matter. I was going to call them 10, 12. It didn't matter. I just became committed to my dial-in schedule on Mondays and Thursdays, because I heard so many people say they're not that good. It's just they get in front of 30, they sit with 20 and they help 10. And I remember when I initially started, my manager was like, hey man, let's help 5 families this week. And I was like, 5 families? There's no way I'm doing that. And when I started getting in front of enough families, it was like, I could never do less than that. So once I became obsessed, and I know this is something that I got from Steve Giordano said this once, and it's never left my mind, was become obsessed with the appointment count. Every single week, just become obsessed with that, regardless of whether, I know people are like, if the world is coming to the end, I'm dialing from 8 a.m. to 12. I'm dialing on Mondays and Thursdays. And once I was so intentional about that, and I made sure that it was a non-negotiable, that I was going to do that twice a week. That's literally it. And I know one of my managers, he calls it, I forgot what he calls it. He calls it I don't know, he's like, dude, imagine dialing, 12 hours a week versus being in the hot sun, being on top of a roof, roofing a home, or, in this Florida heat, all of that, so that's the thing is I just minimized it. And I told myself 2 times a week, I'm going to dial for 12 hours a day. And if it doesn't take me that long, which the better you get, it really, it typically takes 6-7 hours. That's what completely changed everything for me, because even this past year, people ask me, dude, what did you do? How did you do it? I did I'm not even good. I'm going to be completely honest. It's just, I was willing to dedicate my time twice a week, and it resulted in, helping a lot of families.
Dude, that's so good. I mean, what you just said, if people can catch this, this is how your business changes. You can go to a conference, you can get on calls and podcasts and training, but your results are only going to start to shift and change when your standards change. And when you celebrate your activity goals, not your result goals, so you don't get, pulled from left to right and get swayed from the power of the process, which is just getting back to the discipline. That's when change. So Michael, when you say, man, I just started dialing at 8 a.m. and I was willing to dial all the way until 8 p.m., that's a standard. It's a non-negotiable. So anybody on here, if you want your business to change, the fastest way you can change your business is change your standards. So you might have a standard of waking up at 7 a.m. Man, if you change it to 5, I promise you it'll make a big difference. Maybe your morning ritual, you got a standard. My standard is I go do this, and this, right? I wake up, brush my teeth, and I check my phone emails, and I go, well, if you change the standard where your standard is like, no, I feed myself first. I get my mindset right. I fortify myself first. That's a standard. And dialing from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., if that's what it takes, that's a standard. And see, when you have that, it's a non-negotiable. I think the thing that kills people, Michael, is doing what they feel like doing. And in this business, because you have the, I guess, availability to do what you feel like doing because you're working your own job, that's like, it's like the whole who's given much is required. You're given freedom of your schedule, but what's required is the discipline to create standards and non-negotiables in it, because if you don't, it'll lead to the death of you. So what seemed like such a blessing will actually be that which kills you. Right. And so I think that's the biggest thing. What you said was powerful, man. Like, I just made it a non-negotiable from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's what I was going to do. And I think for me, what always helped me, Michael, with, not being pulled by the pressure to do what was pleasurable, which is like, I want to go, I feel like going and watching some TV or checking some social media or going this, or I'm going to go, make my 5th sandwich or go pee for the 98th time. Cause I developed like baby bladder syndrome because it was an easy way to avoid behaving in a way where I needed to, which is what I didn't want to do, which is dial. But dude, like, it was so easy. But what I did was it's contrast correctly. So instead, most people on here, you're comparing like the activity of dialing to doing something pleasurable. Like, man, but I'd rather do this. But if you're working a job, you couldn't do that. And think about all the jobs that you could be doing to make a living. You're sitting, calling people that have asked for help and booking appointments. Even if you get 19 no's, it didn't punch you in the face. Like, just call the next one. And so I think that's so important. A question I got for you, Michael, and I think this shows up in different areas for you. I know you probably maybe experienced like what I did was being 19. Did you have kind of this, I guess, insecurity of when I go sit with the client, I'm so young that the clients are not going to listen to me? Or did you get anybody that said anything to you where it's like, well, how old are you? Did you deal with any of that?
Yeah, I definitely did. And I feel like once I overcame that was when another, pivotal time in my business was, because I remember when I initially started, I was like, and I remember just as I told you at the conference, was like, man, they're going to I'm going to walk in, they're going to be like, who's this chubby cheek, fluffy head kid trying to sell me insurance? And I thought that, and I was like, man, I don't know how to, they're not going to take me serious. But the number one thing, and I know you say this in a lot of the trainings that I've watched of you, is as long as you care, that's it. That's you care for them and you show that and they see that. That's what they care about, and at the end of the day, appropriately challenging the client and showing them that I care. Cause I'm not the type of guy to bully somebody to buy it. Like, I can't do that. I mean, they wouldn't even let me do that. I just got to explain why they need it. But in the very beginning, it was definitely something that I struggled with. And I remember Eric, he's like, dude, he's like, Mike, you get in front of enough people. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if, your 8-year-old little brother walks in the house. There's going to be that 25% that's going to buy. And then the other 50%, you'll get better. And, the first house you ever go in, that's the worst you're ever going to be. From that time on, there's only room to improve. And once he told me a lot of them things, such as like getting in front of enough people, and that literally just changed everything. It really did. And I know I've been said it a couple of times, but that's one thing that I knew I could do. I was like, if I'm not good on the phone, because there's guys in our office, they can book 10 appointments and they can close 8 of them. Like, I'm definitely not that guy. Like, I just can't do that. So once putting the numbers into my favor, I felt like really helped me mentally overcome the fact that I'm so young. It's like, man, it's like even to this day, I go into some clients' houses and they're like, oh goodness, I didn't know my grandson was coming over today. And just a lot of different things that I mentally had to overcome, which, for myself was just simply making sure that I was seeing enough people, because Like I know when me and you talked, you're like, dude, I could bring my 4-year-old daughter into the home and just, tell them to put a, voided check, give me a voided check. And there's going to be that 25% of people that'll do it no matter what. And that's just something. And honestly, in some ways, being young can be an advantage, because sitting with older people, they love to see young people, and they literally it makes their day. And, it's just something that in the beginning I've really struggled with, but now I feel like that's for myself. It's just a myth. It's just because as long as I knew if I worked hard enough, the numbers would always, be in my favor.
Man, that's so good, Michael. And I think this is helping so many people, because I wonder if there's somebody that's on here that they're so focused on the result and like hitting, X amount of numbers or helping X amount of families, that they're so focused on that a lot of times when you're so focused on like the result, the outcome, the scoreboard, you start to look in and find inadequacies that you're like, man, I don't know if I can do that. It's so daunting. It seems so big. It seems so much because I've got this and that. And you kind of look at the faults and the negative. And I believe that every negative has a positive, and you're only able to see that when you get back to focusing on what you can control, which is how many families you got to see. Like all you're talking about is attitude and activity, man. Like you started to focus on, man, that'll take care of itself, but I'm just going to go out and focus on booking X amount of clients to go see this week. And then it'll work out. And if it doesn't work out, where I help as many families as I should, the good thing is I'm getting better. I'm going to progress. I'm going to learn from the experience. I'm going to tweak. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to be able to hit higher levels of serving families and serving clients and know how to relate, connect, and handle that situation, this situation, because I'm exposing myself to more families where I can grow, develop, and get better. And that's such a big deal, man. It's such a freeing thing, because if you're looking at all the reasons why you can't do it, what I would ask you is, are you looking at just focusing on hitting an objective and a goal? And if you are, maybe get back to just focusing on activity goals and hitting the right amount of families to go book. And doing that will make a big, big difference, because it made a massive difference to me. Michael, I'd go in a client's house and they'd be like, man, like, how old are you? And I was like, I actually am really, really young. In fact, my mom dropped me off and she's circling around the neighborhood. She circles 4 times. If I'm not out by the 4th time, she'll just leave and I'll be here all night. So I got to go through this pretty quick. Are you guys ready? And they start laughing. It was no big deal. But I say, no, but I'm only 19. But the good news is this: I got a great group of people around me and that kind of help out that I work with. And I really care about people. So I'm really good at what I do. And I'm glad to be here to help you guys. So let me go through it real quick, because I know every situation is unique and different. I go right back into it. But the reality is this: somebody on here, Michael, is thinking they're too old, or they're too this, or they're too that, or not qualified, or they've failed to. It doesn't matter. You can look back and find the good in it and turn it around and make it a positive. If you're 70, if you're 58 on here, you can think about when you go in there, you can connect more with these families and say, listen, I understand how you feel about wanting to protect your kids, because I felt the same way. In fact, that's what led me to this career, was the desire for that, because I started to become more, aware of mortality as I've gotten up there in age. And I think you probably have the same too, right? Yeah. And every person, no matter where you're at, what circumstance you're in, there's something beneficial from that. If you perceive it the right way, the seed that's in it, you will receive it, plant it, grow it, and it'll turn out for your betterment. It's a fact. So, Michael, what I want to ask you is this, man. You said, man, like I really just burned the bridges, like I burned the ship, so to speak, as you got started. How important do you think that played a part in you going out there and getting to the point where you're helping 100 families in a month, when not too long ago, man, you were, I know you said you're still not very good, but you were terrible on the phones. You're terrible booking appointments. You weren't getting the result you wanted. There was a lot of things. It seemed like, if I would have said 100 families in a month a year ago, you probably have been like, what the heck? How did burning the ships serve you in getting to where you're at currently?
Yes, absolutely. That's something that can help tremendously, because when I initially started, I was just, booking 3 appointments here, 2 appointments there. I'd come in on dial day, 10 o'clock, I would be out of the office, I'd go eat lunch, maybe sleep. It was just, had nothing together. So for myself, burning the bridges was something that was super imperative to, the success that I've had thus far. just literally just like Sean Mike says, just start doing it, break stuff, just do whatever you can to get to where you want to be. And that was something that I felt like completely changed my whole business around, because when I initially started, I would, let's say, for example, I'd book 5 appointments. 2 of them would no-show me. I would go into the Walmart parking lot, get on my phone and start watching TikToks. And I would do that for an hour and a half. And then, I was not seeing no results. And I was like, what in the world am I doing? How can I be better? What can I do that I'm not doing now? And it's just like I hear you say, small tweaks makes all the difference in the world. So instead of going into the Walmart parking lot and watching YouTube for an hour, I would go door knock. I would door knock the leads that were disconnected, the leads that said no, or just getting in front of people, just 12 hours a day. I was participating in income producing activities. And that was something that changed everything for me. 6 days a week, I was in the field or I was on the phone, and I was just committed, and nothing else was going to stop me. And like I said, it started in the December, because December of 2020, I helped 27 families. I remember that. And it changed everything for me. And I was like, wow, Mike, imagine if you'd done that same activity that you used in the month of December. How about you use this every month in 2021? And I did that, and I utilized that, and it literally changed my whole life around. And like you said, a year ago, I never thought to myself, hey, I'd be helping 100 families in a month. But it was just, there's no, you only have room to improve. Every house I went in, I got better. And the thing is like I said, you can be the worst agent in the world, which what I was. And, I don't have good communication skills. I'm not the most likable guy. I'm not even the best looking guy. I just knew that if, like you said, I went and I just started, put my head down and burnt all the bridges, that it was going to turn out like it did. And I'm super thankful that it did, because I knew that all I wasn't the talented guy coming in this business. I was just the guy that was willing to go to work and willing to put in the time to get the results that I've saw thus far.
Man, that's so good, bro. And, Sandman, I think if more people just audited their time, and that's what kind of helped me, was taking on that employer role, where it's I'm the CEO of my business. When I'm, looking at my schedule and what I'm doing and what's unproductive and how I can swap it out for something that's more productive. That's me being the employer, me being the mind, the person that's thinking. And then once I kind of identify and say, man, I should door knock instead of TikTok. Well, then you put that in your schedule and you just execute. And it's that simple, man. And it's not simple to do. That's the difficult thing, is because you're not going to feel like doing it. Right. You've created this habit, and every time you have a no-show, man, your neurons are firing off, and you almost got this anticipation of man, I want to go watch some TikTok. Boom, dopamine hits. So you got to fix that, but you can do it. You can do it by thinking what I would think is if I'm gone away from my family, that doesn't matter if I'm driving an appointment. It doesn't matter if I'm not with my wife and kids. How can I make sure I'm so productive that I could eventually get to a place of freedom where I could be with them whenever I want to be with them? Or how can I be so much more productive where I can get more done so I can have more time with them? How can I gain 2-3 more hours somehow through the week, because I'm collapsing timeframes and able to hit my objective and goals that much quicker by being more efficient in the field? And so for everybody out here, one great tip taken away that I got from Sandman right now is taking a look back at your schedule. Look at last week, look at last month, and really ask yourself, what was the biggest time waster that you can tweak and adjust? And what can you fill it with that's going to bring the most value based off where you want to go, right? Which is serving more clients, serving more agents, saving more agents, and just start to audit that and then switch it up, right? Switch up what you're doing for something more productive. Sandman, question for you, man. So as people are coming off the conference, right? It's exciting. There's most everybody I've spoken to, and you probably agree too, man. They feel like I'm more, I guess it's more belief. They believe in themselves more. I do. It's almost I believe more in the purpose that I'm on with FFL. What we do matters. It makes a difference. I'm reminded with that, and I need that, man. Because sometimes I could just think that man, does it even matter? Is it, and I'm reminded of that. And people that went to the conference, that looks different based off the stage of the business, what season they're in. Some are brand new and they now have the belief to make their first lead purchase. Somewhere at a level where they know that the next step was to hire staff, but they didn't really believe in themselves or didn't know if it was worth the risk or if they could do it. And now they're taking those steps. But Sam, how does somebody take the external motivation of being at the event and not let it go to waste, right? Not let it just fall off. It's like Christmas morning, man. I got 5 kids. They're out of their mind excited. They open all their presents, this big old high. They're all fired up. You know what I mean? And then about 5 hours later, they've crashed and it's like they don't even touch their toy. How do they turn it into internal motivation? Why is it so important, to take steps of action right away? Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yes, absolutely. Convention every year, and I've only been twice, but this year it literally, and I'm sure you've probably been to nearly all of them, but every year this was so much better than last year. I'm sure next year will be so much better than this year. But, like you said, not to, waste any time and implement exactly what we took away from convention now, because last year, like I said, when I went to convention, I literally, every month I had like a better month just because of the momentum coming off from convention. But I think for anyone that went to convention, obviously there was a million takeaways, and for me, it was just I just wanted to be serious about my business. And that's with anybody else as well. Like you said, if last month you helped 15 families, like coming from convention, learning all the information, all the different tips, all the different things that we can, implement to our business. And like you said, just no longer doing what we did previously, just so we can have better results and we can protect, serve, and help more families, because ultimately that's something that completely changed everything for me. And I know that anybody that went to convention, anybody that focused, anybody that, really was there taking notes, right? If you did them things, there's no way that you won't. And the only way you don't is if you don't work, which ultimately at the end of the day, like I've heard people say, you could be the most talented person in the world, but if there's no work ethic, there's going to be no results. So at the end of the day, I would just, say that it would be just implementing exactly what you took away from convention and, implementing it today, not waiting tomorrow to stop watching YouTube and door knock, not waiting till next week to dial from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. Not procrastinating them things, because that's all I did last year. I was like, Mike, you know what? We're going to stop, doing the things that are, non-income producing activities. And we're going to turn that into income producing activities. And we're going to change this now. And that was something that I did. It's just I stopped procrastinating with myself and I got serious with myself. And that's what anybody that went to convention can do the same thing, because at the end of the day, with all the information that we learn at the annual convention, there's everybody in the whole building, if they implemented exactly what they learned, exactly what they heard, exactly, all the different takeaways that they took from it, that I took from it, can help serve, can help at least 20 families a month, So at the end of the day, it's just implemented exactly what they heard so they can, better serve more families and, ultimately grow their business.
Yeah. Well, man, I'll tell you what, dude, what you've done has inspired many. What you've done has inspired me, Sandman. I mean, it has. The amount of families you've served, your heart, that's inspired me. But you've also impacted me. You impacted me because of the process and path that you've gone down to get there, right? The numbers and the amount of families you serve, that is inspirational. But the process you've gone through and where you started at and the path that you traveled, that's impactful. And for me, it reminds me of the process I've had. And not everybody's had the same process, but man, I remember being, 19, just getting started, hoping to God this was going to work and just being so terrible. Like, man, hopefully I can get better. I remember hanging up when the first client answered the phone and acting like they didn't answer the phone. I remember breathing into the phone, forgetting to say hello and having to hang up because I figured if I said hello now, it's even more creepier because they're thinking, why didn't this guy say hello? And he's been like, I just remember like going through those processes, man. And everybody's different. Maybe somebody on here goes out there and they help a lot of families right away, and maybe some don't. But the reality is if you just don't quit and you apply yourself and every day you make a decision to get a little bit better, if every day you make a decision to take what you're hearing, to take what you're knowing, and you start to take action and put it into the doing part, you're going to build something great, right? And so everybody on here, man, you came this morning, you came, you heard. You came to conference, maybe, and you heard. Maybe you didn't go to conference, but you come every Monday morning, or you come on the TNL and you hear. The question is, the doing part is what matters most. I love the scripture says, man, somebody building a house, they come, they hear, and they don't do. It's like a person building a house that, when they dig, they just put the foundation on the sand. And when the storm comes, not if, but when it comes, when the no-shows come, the no-sales come, and the chargebacks come, it hits, that house is going to fall. It's going to fall immediately. But the person that comes, right? Because first you got to come and hear, because if not, you're just working off the same thought process. They come, they hear, they get around the new information. They develop more of a knowing, and they do. That's like the person that digs a house and they dig deep and they lay the foundation on a rock. And when the storms come, not if, when the no-sales come, the no-shows come, the chargebacks come, that storm, all it does is it reveals that the house was founded and built on the rock, and it doesn't shake it. And that's how we build this business. And if you want to be unshook, if you don't want to be shaken, then as you go out there, take action week in and week out. And man, I tell you what, man, phenomenal job. I do believe that anybody watching this morning is more inclined to go out there and serve more families. Everybody has the ability and the gift to go out there and serve people, but not everybody has the desire, and they don't take action, and they procrastinate, and they don't. That's why it doesn't work for everybody. And so guys, make it work for you today. Go out there, take massive action. Sam, man, thank you. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. The drawing is coming up right now for last week. I am excited to watch that every week. I had more people come and say, dude, man, just when I needed that extra money. In fact, I had somebody come up, Michael, and I'm glad they did. Because like I said, sometimes I don't know, but they said, man, I commented and I got, Casey drew my name and I won the lead money. And they're like, you didn't understand. But at that point in time, when I won that, I needed it. It was that, or I'm out of business. And I took that, helped some families, and now I'm rolling. I'm here at the conference, and like, man, thank you. And I was like, oh, thank you for, commenting and putting yourself in a position to do that. You did it, not me. All we do is hit a button and the algorithm spits it out. So guys, appreciate you. Make it a big week. Be strong, stay steadfast. And Sandman, again, thank you so much, bro. Let's go kill it. See you guys. Take care.
What's going on, guys? We are giving away, once again, $250 in lead credit. If you commented on last week's video, which is playing right here, you are automatically entered to win $250 in free leads. It's that simple. So what I recommend doing is commenting on this video that you're watching right now, because we're doing a giveaway next week of $250 in leads from the comments on this week's video right down here, right on YouTube. So leave a comment. Guys, let's see who won this week. You guys ready? I'm ready. Who won? We got Isaiah Love. Let's see if we can zoom it in. Kind of. Isaiah Love, he says, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, Isaiah. You just won $250 in lead credit. Go ahead and get in contact with Victoria. Her phone number is going to be right down here, so you can get your free $250 worth of leads. Guys, it's that simple. Leave a comment on this video right here on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, jump over to our YouTube page real quick and leave a comment there, and you're automatically entered to win $250 in free leads. Guys, we love y'all. Keep serving families, keep helping people, keep protecting people, and we'll see you next week. Take care.